What is up, everybody? Welcome back to the Crew 2, and in this video I'm going to take a look at the Nissan Skyline GTR R34 Lucky Dragon Edition. This is indeed going to be a new car in the R34 family. We also have the High Octane Edition, which I think we all know what car this is referencing. But nonetheless, guys, the High Octane Edition is going to be a bit different looking than the Lucky Dragon. I really do have to admit, I think this car looks awesome. I really do think a lot of people are going to love the way this vehicle looks. For one, I noticed the gold colored rims right off the bat, plus we have that gold piece on the rear taillight. And then spinning around to the front here, you guys are also going to notice the gold piece on the headlight as well. And one thing I actually noticed when spinning the car around, you guys will see the gold pieces on the seats there. And I also noticed the seats are going to be green, so I do think this car is definitely going to look pretty sweet. And I do know the R34 is going to have an insanely big following to begin with, so having another R34 variant is definitely going to be a nice sight to see. And I also noticed, guys, on the bottom of the car here, we're going to have like a playing card. There's also going to be one in the car as well, mainly because, well, it's probably because it's the Lucky Dragon Edition. You'll also notice like the hog on the front there, plus the grille is going to say fire, basically like the fire air filters. So I really do like the detail they put into this thing, plus the carbon fiber rear splitters and or like rear diffuser as well, if you want to call it that. But overall, I really do think they did a great job with this car. And I would say we're probably going to start seeing more of this car showing up around in summits and or events. But anyway, guys, let's go do a quick look at this car and do a top speed test. And then let's jump into one of the events and see how it does. And then moving over to the outside view, I really do love the way the gold looks in the sunlight. Like, look how bright those rims are. Plus, you can see the back piece on the back of the car also being pretty dang bright as well. And one thing, guys, I also noticed, if you might have been wondering, so yeah, one of the headlights is going to be out here when I hit the horn. I was actually driving the car around at nighttime a bit, and it didn't really seem to affect it too much. Then again, I do know the lighting on the Crew 2 is also going to be a topic of itself, but overall, if you guys were wondering how this car is going to look at night, I would say like those little fog lights do seem to help a bit when it does come to nighttime driving with this thing. I really do love the splitter on the front of the car as well. Like, that thing is fully carbon fiber. I also think the wing is going to look pretty awesome as well because these sides are painted, and the exhaust is going to be huge, which does make sense on the R34. Overall, guys, I do think a lot of people are going to love the look of this car, and let's take a listen to that engine. And then moving over to the interior view of the Nissan Skyline here, guys, the first thing I actually noticed about this car is going to be like the gold pieces around like the knobs and or the middle piece down there as well. So I do like those little pieces of detail. And then moving over besides that, I didn't really notice that much more when it comes to like the overall difference of the interior. You guys will also notice the seats are green, plus like the gold pieces in the seats as well. So I really do have to admit, I do love the way this car does look inside as well. So if you guys did want to drive first person mode, you're going to have some detail inside of this car that does tell you it's going to be a special edition. And now, besides all that, let's go see what the top speed of the Nissan Skyline R34 Lucky Dragon Edition is going to be. So one of the first things I noticed when driving this car, guys, is the fact that when you did drive this thing in the Summit, it was actually a 5-speed in the Summit because it was not actually upgraded. Once you guys max the car out and or put like, a good set on here, it is indeed going to be a 6-speed, which definitely made me happy. I was slightly concerned with it being a 5-speed, but then again, that's definitely not going to make this car be bad in any way. But let's see what the top speed of the Lucky Dragon is going to be with a Nitro Chemist set. One thing I have been wondering about some of these street cars that have a higher top speed is the fact that sometimes you have to go through way too much nitrous to actually get it to where it should be. So let's see what this car is actually going to do. So with Nitro Chemist, oh my, look at that. 276 to 277 miles per hour, guys. This is going to be one of the fastest street cars in the game once again. Now, I have to admit though, I have a feeling something with this might end up changing in the future. I was noticing some of the faster cars in certain classes do tend to have like lower top speeds over time. I'm not sure if like they get nerfed or something happens to them. Maybe they weren't supposed to be that fast, but I really do hope the Skyline here is going to remain to be one of the fastest cars. Not only to make things kind of interesting in the street category, but I do think a lot of players do want some of these summit cars to be pretty dang unique in some way, and seeing this car have a pretty high top speed like this is definitely going to make a lot of players use this thing. I've been noticing some of these street cars being a tad faster than they used to be, at least recently anyway, and I'm wondering if this is going to be a new trend in the future with like some of the new Summit vehicles. I do think it would be kind of cool to see some of these Summit cars be slightly faster than some of the regular cars in the game, but then again that can also raise a lot of issues if some people are actually using those cars in Summits and or being insanely fast, and then other players that don't have the cars might get kind of upset. I can definitely see that being a slight issue, but then again guys, how some of these cars are set up, for example the Lucky Dragon Edition, yes this car can do around 277 miles per hour, but one thing I was noticing when racing this car in one of the events is the fact that it's going to take a lot of nitrous to actually get there, and I did notice it kind of struggles slightly. Even after like 255 miles per hour, it's going to be kind of slow in some areas. I would say depending on the road that you guys are on, the car's probably not going to hit 270 at all, even with a nitrochem set, so it's almost like a slight way for them to balance the vehicle out and to make it actually go insanely fast in some areas, but also be balanced in a way in which you will be able to go against some of these faster street cars, and or if some of them have like a higher top speed than like 260, you can still go against them in many of the events and still easily score high enough in like a summit, even though some of these cars might have a slightly higher top speed than 260, like the BMW M8 Performance Edition. That car also does around 270 plus miles per hour as well, but I still don't see that car being insanely overpowered because of the amount of nitrous you have to go through to actually get that thing to go above 265 miles per hour, which I do have a feeling the Lucky Dragon Edition is also going to be in that category. But at least we're going to have a new R34 in the game, guys, that's also going to be insanely fast, and it's going to handle insanely good as well, which I was kind of surprised about. I was actually going around most of the corners in this car in like third gear, and it felt surprisingly stable as well going around these corners, so I do think the Lucky Dragon Edition is going to be a really good overall street car, and I would definitely recommend trying out this thing if you guys did get it. I do want to know what you guys think about the GTR Lucky Dragon Edition in the comments below, and here are the settings I'm currently running on this vehicle.